Thank you everyone for joining us. Good afternoon to all. I hope you and your loved ones are all well. COVID and pandemic definitely have been blessing in disguise for all of us. Because of which today we are able to join and attend sessions, informative discussions, and panel from anywhere, anytime. To set the context about the Headstart is a grassroots level organization incepted in 2007 to support and enable the early stage startup with presence in 30 plus cities across India, having two international chapters, one at Berlin, and another at Finland. So far, Headstart have done more than 2,000 plus startup events, directly or indirectly, and have impacted and resulted in creation of 10,000 plus ventures. Many of the big names today have had their origin stories and connect with the Headstart in one or some form, be it Kickstart or Saturday or the Open Innovation Meets. Some of the early stage startups like Flipkart, Crack, Zomatos are already unicorn, and be many more will join the club soon. And the best part about the Head Start is it's a volunteer driven group with 250 plus active volunteers working day and night for the community and for the startup ecosystem. This is Mukesh from the Head Start team, and I thanks to all the team members for providing continuous support and to our respected experts, users, and participants who have been constantly supporting us for this one of the mega event, Startup September, which has been supported by 40 plus partners, where we had experts from organizations like Google, Microsoft, GitHub, Startup India, Invest India, Ford, TCS Foundation, Manipal, Hendrix VC, Anthil Ventures, and the list goes on for the next 160 plus such names, which have joined us in the last 22 days, and have through our 30 plus sessions. So other than that, there are almost 20 plus no agenda meets which are happening physically across our chapters and the Innovation Hub to celebrate the startup ecosystem. This is 22nd day of the September. With this today, we are having three more sessions back to back from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And for you, I'm here with our first expert, Kevin Parekh, the co-founder for the Proeon, a group working on protein-based food tech research and innovation. R&D driven startup founded in 2018, recently raised 17.5 CR of the funds for the expansion of research and innovation. Kevin and his co-founder Assis have worked for the natural products industry collectively for more than 25 years. And Proeon is headquartered in India, currently incubated at CIIE, Center for Food Technology and Research Institute, Mysore, and Venture Center at NCL Pune, a food ingredient innovation startup working on creating healthier, tastier, and more sustainable food solutions with a vision to create high quality plant protein ingredient with superior natural and functional and sensory properties through intensive R&D, which is achieved through innovation in source selections, extractions, and protein conditioning. So just to give a brief intro on the Kevin has a techno-commercial background with master degree in management from Institute of Rural Management and MS in biotechnology, with an extensive experience in innovation, supply chains, setup, and new product development in an industry like food, beverage, and nutraceutical ingredients. His passion lies in connecting seemingly unrelated dots across sectors to create solutions that make ingredients and food products more joyful and healthy. Outside of the work, Kevin is an avid reader, quizzer, loves watching, analyzing, and discussing cinema. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. And before we move into the fireside chat and discussion, I just would like you to introduce about the company, about the organization, and the vision which you have set up for the company.
Sure. So thank you so much, Mukesh, and thank you so much, Headstart team. Give me this opportunity to interact with you all and share what we are doing at Proeon. So thank you. And so talking about what we are doing at Proeon or what our vision is, basically there are going to be 10 billion people on planet Earth by 2050. And there is no way that our current food systems, the way they are, they will be sustainable or they'll be able to meaningfully support nutrition of 10 billion people the way it is right now. For example, the kind of water that is utilized to grow the crop, then that crop is fed to a cow, and then that cow is used to either milk or derive meat out of. It's a huge waste. The kind of carbon emissions that happen during the food production chain, these are not sustainable. And that's why there is a whole industry that has come up in last 10 years which is working extensively on creating food solutions that are much more sustainable, much healthier than what's going on right now, so that we can support the nutrition of people, at the same time take care of the environment, and have our food systems that are much more sustainable than what's there right now. So with that vision, basically at Proeon, we are trying to create value in terms of doing high-tech research and innovation in the ingredients part of the food innovation part. And our aim is to create solutions that are helping the world create food which is better for people, the planet, and the conscience of the people who consume it. So yeah, that's what we are trying to do at Proeon.
So this is really a kind of approach that has led to another opportunity of connecting with the people and bringing sustainability at the core focus. And perhaps that's what more probably startups would or should come for bringing solutions for sustainability and also for the planet Earth. So with this, like I have read your profile, right? And you have been always into the employability and then you went to the entrepreneur. So bringing food tech industries and that too with the focus on core research for the protein. So what has inspired you to focus on this niche segment, and how was your journey from being an employee to an entrepreneur in the last like we can say decade?
So yeah, it's very exciting. So if I got your question right, you were saying as compared to my previous experience of working for a corporation to starting on
Yes.
my own, how it was, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So it's yeah. Sorry, you were saying something.
no, no. So yeah. So how was journey from employee to entrepreneur? How was your journey to that one?
It's very exciting. So I would like to actually mention how it all happened, and say special thanks to Mr. Sanjay Mariwala, who is our mentor till date. So I had joined OmniActive right out of my MBA college, which is Institute of Rural Management, Anand, and I worked for OmniActive for 5 years. And there I worked very closely with Mr. Mariwala, who is the MD there, and he comes from the illustrious Mariwala family. And he's one person who has supported me and Ashish right through our journey. So even when we were working for OmniActive, we used to have these discussions with him that, Sanjay, we love working here, but as people, we would be very excited to have something of our own. So even when we were working for him, when we were working with him, he always used to encourage thought about what we can do on our own. And in fact, when we got this idea, he was the first person whom we told about, and since that day he has been supporting us. So we were really really lucky to have somebody as a mentor in Sanjay when we were working there. So he gave us all kinds of possible exposure that is in fact helping us today also to set up our own company and run it. And yeah, it's very different. I have a lot of respect for people who work in corporate and contribute a lot to the growth of any company in any sector. And at the same time, if you compare it, my journey of being an employee at a corporate versus what I'm doing at a startup, it's like startup is 10x of everything that you experience in a job. For example, if you get promoted or if you get a salary hike, the kind of excitement or the kind of happiness you feel, you get probably 10x the happiness when you are able to crack a good large customer, or your product finally comes out to be really good as you had envisioned it. But at the same time, the kind of stress that you have in a job versus the kind of stress that you feel and the kind of responsibility that you feel when you are setting up your own company, on which a lot of other businesses are dependent for solutions, a lot of other employees are dependent on it for their salary and other things. You feel 10x the more times stress and responsibility as you feel at working at a job. uh, but yeah, again, both of them are very different journeys. And in fact, I loved my journey at OmniActive when I was working there, and I'm really excited about what we have set out to do at Proeon. So yeah, looking forward to that.
So great, and I must say, like, thank you for your thorough introduction to the reality of research, reality of startup, and then as well as reality of like how startup seems to be from the outer world, but then coming back into the realities, they're really different, right? Uh, Employability or being an employee is somehow 10x more when it comes to the salary, but whereas the passion which lies with the startup is something different. That is wonderful to know on that one. Uh, so when I was reading the profile again, one thing which was on which mentioned on website as well, forging synergy between people, planet, and conscience through food. So this is something which has attracted my eye as well. So people with planet and then with throw the food actually. So how this actually has impacted and how this will impact mainly, right, from farmer to the planet. So if you can share something on that as well.
Sure. So, for example, when people switch from animal-based foods to plant-based foods, there is a massive decrease in amount of water that is required to produce plant-based food as compared to producing meat or milk. There is massive reduction in amount of carbon dioxide secretion that happens, carbon dioxide emissions that happen. So the comparison is that if we are able to switch from if an American who consumes a lot of beef burgers throughout the year, if they reduce their beef burger consumption by a certain percentage, I am not able to exactly recall how much, but if they reduce their beef burger consumption, just the Americans, it will help reduce carbon emissions equivalent to all possible transports in the world. So all the emissions made by cars, by planes, by any other means of transport, equivalent to that much of carbon emissions can be reduced if Americans reduce their beef consumption. So this is just one example of how huge an impact our food systems, our food habits, and our supply chains have on the planet. So when we are working on replacing meat with plant-based meat, or when we are working on alternative dairy to replace traditional dairy products, or replacing eggs for that matter, we are able to have a very very distinct impact on the environment in terms of using up agri resources, freeing up them, using less and less water, polluting less. So that is the impact that we strive to have on the environment. Second thing is working on the conscious. So a lot of people are giving up on eating meat and other animal derived products for ethical reasons. So when you stop eating meat, you it's good for your conscience because you don't feel that you have killed somebody to have your meal today. So that's how it's good for the conscience and for the planet, as I told you, and for people in a way that a lot of times meat has certain types of fats, other unhealthy because there are already pesticides and other antibiotics that are there in the supply chain, fats that are there in animal products. So creating food that is healthier. So that's how we are trying to make things that are good for the planet by reducing pollution and reducing the use of water and other resources, by increasing the health portion of the food, and by making it completely cruelty free. So this is how we associate it with making it good for people, planet, and conscience.
So I again would like to say that you're really a good supporter of the ecosystem as well as of the planet and toward the sustainability. Uh, Proeon team is lucky to have you with the board as a co-founder. Without taking much time on that, now we would like to move on the fund which you recently have raised, which is a huge sum for the seed capital, 17.5 CR, and the funding round led by entrepreneur Seval Desai also saw participation from Closet Ventures, Peak Sustainability Ventures, and then with the WoW. So we would like to know how this happened and how exciting was this round for you and how it went compared to your expectations. 17.5 CR is definitely a very big chunk, right? And that is too again for the seed fund.
Yeah, so thank you for your kind words. Basically, yeah, so just one correction. The For some reason we had mentioned in our information that we had raised around $2.45 million, which was converted to 17.5. Just putting it out there, it's 18. Doesn't make a big difference. So we recently raised 18 crores uh, for our next phase of the journey, and it is really exciting. And when you are not a part of a startup, this looks like the most exciting news, right? That we raised X amount of resources, but that is what it is, right? To build a successful company, you need 3 or 4 resources, out of which money is one. So it's an important resource, it's an important milestone in our journey, but it just gives us more confidence that we will be able to go through with our plans. We will be able to hire the right kind of people, we would be able to access the right kind of infrastructure, which are also two very very important resources that you need. So yeah, we feel excited, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of more things to be done. So it's good, but as I said, it's not the end all and be all of starting a company. So yeah, just wanted to
Yeah,
put that out there.
surely. So I was having conversation with Ashish few days back, and I came to know that you have hired your first employee as a PhD, which is really amazing, right? And we have heard like most of the startups when come like the expansion is more toward operation toward, let's say, with the team building and all. But when I was reading the article, the major focus for the Proeon team was more on building IP, more on expanding toward Netherlands and all, toward the global platform kind of thing, right? And as well toward the research kind of thing. So how do you see this R&D as a future for the startups?
So basically, just want to point it out there that we have been doing research since the day we started. So we are a very research focused company. The PhD candidate that you are talking about, she has been with us for more than 2 years. So from day zero, we are a very research focused company, and this is not the first time we are raising funds. We have raised pre-seed money when we got started, and that was also it was very clearly laid out in our plans that it will go towards making something that is absolutely new, innovative, and better. So that has been the DNA of company since day one. And talking about how we are going to use these resources to further fund our R&D. So yeah, it's there's a little bit of difference in how different companies operate, with the funds that they receive. If you are into something that is very very consumer focused, then obviously a lot of resources go towards acquiring more and more consumers so that you can grow as a company. But for us, which is we are a B2B company which is highly focused on creating innovative ingredients. For us, it's important to keep working on and expanding our R&D, because what we have created is certainly new, innovative, and proprietary through our research in these last 2.5 years, and that is what has got us the confidence of investors and our customers. But we cannot sit on that. We have to continuously innovate and create better solutions, create technological moats that give us an advantage over competition. So it is an important part, and majority of our resources, as you rightly said, will be diverted towards creating better and better technology and better ingredients. And also quite a few of it will go towards expanding the team, expanding our footprint across the world, and getting more customers, expanding our commercial production capacities and things like that. But this is the vision that we have.
So very happy to have such a patient leader in you. Bringing research and innovation is something which interests me as well a lot. Myself being into research for my like first 5 6 years after starting my professional journey, this is one area which has always attracted me. And then startup is something which comes second for me, right? So you guys are again focusing on innovation and then also partnering with the large global heads again both in Netherlands, Europe, and all toward the South Asia as well. So toward creating food products that are hassle-free to formulate and loved by the customer. So what kind of consumer segment your team is looking as of now?
So since we are into B2B space, we are not focusing on consumer segments. We are more focusing towards applications. So what we generally do is the proteins that we make, they are used by food formulators and food companies to make their end products. So we are currently, our ingredients are focused towards solutions like plant-based egg replacement, plant-based meat, and also plant-based dairy. So that's what we are focusing on and creating ingredients for. But consumer focus is brought on by our customers, who are the food companies.
That's great. And we have some of the incubators also here. I can see Nikhil, which works on which is who is CEO for AIC NDRI, National Dairy Research Institute, and they are also working on the similar line. And also many of the founders who have joined us. Definitely, I believe that uh, understanding that food tech is not just about growing something and just with the aggregator kind of thing. It can also be more into deep dive into research and all. So this is something really interesting. Coming back to my again on the funding point, right? You already have said you have raised 18 CR and all. And when I see startup community, more of the investment or investors, if I look, we have seen about D2C, we are talking about SaaS-based startups and all, right? Whereas R&D is one sector which is still untouched, major of the investor. And in India, most of the fund goes for the R&D from the government side. Whereas when I talk with the Western culture, like maybe in Germany, US and all, the funds are given by the government, which are utilized by the corporate houses. In India, it is opposite to that, right? The funds are given by the government and again utilized by the government agencies like universities and academia body. So when it comes to the investment paternity in India, so how do you think that the mindset for the investors toward this particular segment? What is the mindset of the investors when, let's say, when you went over there? How did you felt? How was you given the chance and all?
Right. So let me take this question in two parts. One is the governmental support and the grant system that you're talking about, and second is the venture capitalists and other professional investors who generally invest startups. So first part is about the government, and I feel that there is a good, robust enough system in India that has been put in place since quite a few years, that there are good grants available to startups at different stages. There is a good incubation center network that has been created, and there are really good incubators, including say CII, IIM Ahmedabad, who have supported us from again very early stage. So there are very good opportunities in all different areas to get equity free grants from government and other institutions. So I would really suggest startups who are in early stage to explore that. Uh, we cannot compare those sums to the sums that are available in Europe and other countries. But even if you are present in India, you will get uh, different grants that will right from making the first prototype. So I'm not able to recall the names of the schemes, but DBT and the Department of
Yeah,
Science and Technology, they have quite a few grants available right from for making prototypes to scaling it up to taking it to market. They even give you grants for filing your patents and other things. So there are a lot of grants that are available, and one should really work on finding them and applying for a few which are relevant. They are really, really good. Other than that, I kind of agree with you on that. There's a little difference in the outlook of investors in India as compared to the Western world. When you fund companies which are into deep tech or deep science like us, because a lot of our infrastructure and a lot of our startup ecosystem is actually geared towards software and consumer internet and things like that. And now it's slowly shifting, and I see that there is a good chunk of investors who understand this kind of business, which is deep science, and the numbers are growing. So we are optimistic. The way we got a response when we went out looking for funds, we got interest from a lot of investors in India itself. So I don't think so. There's a lack of understanding or support for R&D based companies. What happens is that as compared to internet based or direct to consumer kind of companies, companies like us who are more R&D and science focused, they take a little bit of more time to go through the process of investors. So my advice to all the entrepreneurs here who are listening in, if you are into deep science company, so generally it takes around say 4 to 6 months for a internet based startup to raise funds from the day they start looking for funds. I would say if you are a deep science company, consider anywhere between 8 to 10 months, because it takes a little bit of extra time and effort for the investors to understand exactly what you're doing and how does it make sense for them. But I strongly feel that there are really good investors out there who understand the value in deep science and investing in this space. But yeah, it just takes a little bit of more effort from the side of entrepreneurs to put the whole picture across.
true, true. So definitely R&D is something. And a few days back, I think we had few of the people who were into this bio domain and all. Whenever it comes to the R&D kind of startup, it usually takes from 5 to 10 years kind of duration. And there are many incubators as of now which are totally focusing on this. IIT Madras, then there are like Triple IT Hyderabad as well. So all these kind of people are over there to support the startups and all. So this is something I believe really a nice information. People should look into it. It may take time, but ultimately the flavor of result is always good to that way. Uh, just on the like other than this funding part, like what and how your team will plan to utilize this fund, other than expansion of team, like when it comes to the IP and all. Again, I was reading that you guys are again driving it toward Netherlands and Europe. So how that is working on, like about the IP kind of thing. So where is your focus as of now?
So IP is basically creation of patents and other things. Filing of patents is quite an expensive affair. So yeah, we have done certain work till now which we think is highly proprietary, and we are working on filing those patents. And also the future work that we are planning is absolutely focused towards creating proprietary technologies and products, which we will be going ahead and filing for patents in future, which will be an ongoing activity. So yeah, that's all, because not much I can divulge here on what we are working, but it's an important part of our strategy to create innovative processes and products, and go ahead and protect them with IP.
Great. Just one more question on the your global expansion point of view. How do you feel that this will be benefiting the farming community in the India? Like when you say that your company having a vision to move toward global side, so how this will actually benefit the Indian farming community, which is again one of the key focus area for Proeon as well.
Absolutely. So if you look at the raw materials that we use, basically we use mung bean, we use the desi chana or the Indian Bengal gram, we use amaranth or rajgira, and these are the crops that are grown in India. And in fact, India is the largest grower of all of these crops. And what we are doing is we are doing a value addition to it and exporting it to the world. So we are working on the whole vision of Make in India, where we are able to add value to the crops that our farmers are growing and support the world in food creation. In fact, India has been a pioneer in uh, high quality, high value food ingredients uh, since many decades, and we are trying to make a more high tech version, more high value version of that. Now, how that benefits the farmers is that right now we are exploring that as we grow, how do we collaborate with farmers, how do we collaborate with farmer producer organizations, so that they get better value, they get increased incomes for whatever they produce, and at the same time how can we reduce the market risk that they face. So as we expand our procurement, we would work directly with farmers and farmer producer organizations that will help us get much better quality crop with much more consistency, and that will increase their incomes and reduce their market risk.
Great. So we have one more question from the audience side, which
Sure.
is more on the advice to entrepreneurs and how are starting up alone. Like the question is, what is your advice to the entrepreneurs who are starting up alone, and how important it is to build a co-founder before getting some pre-seed funding? How important it
Uh,
is to find a co-founder? Yeah, sorry.
so I would say it's absolutely very difficult, if not impossible, to set up a company and run it alone. I think it's really important to have a really good co-founder. So the ideal number of founders is set to be 2 or 3. So one, it becomes extremely difficult, and if you see it from the point of view of yourself, you don't have all the skills, so you should try to find somebody who has complementary skills to yourself, and you can divide the work and grow the company together. If you look at it from the point of view of even investors, it's extremely risky for them to invest into a company which is run by one person. If something happens to you, for example, a bus hits you while you are on the road, or you get fall ill, or something else happens, uh, the company is in a very bad shape. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Hello,
Yeah, yeah,
can
Nisi.
I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so my question is, why don't you enter in the education? For example, if I need a tofu paneer, right? So I won't get at my local dairy shops. So can you come up with the idea that you educate all the dairy shops to make that tofu paneer and all that?
No, sorry, I
Because they
still
are
don't get
dependent.
it.
My question
On
is, why don't
yeah,
you
yeah.
educate all the dairy members and the people in the dairy business to make the tofu and the plant-based products?
So yeah, so what you're saying is basically how do we increase the education and awareness in the country to producers as well as consumers, right? That you should produce this and you should consume this, which is more plant based. Uh,
No, no,
so
I
that
think,
is
no, I'm saying that you educate the people. You come up with a model that you educate the people to make the plant-based products and tofu paneer.
So maybe that is where Proeon will grow big.
Because if I go to my local supermarket, I won't buy a tofu paneer made from a factory, but I will buy it from a locally fresh store, right?
Yeah.
That's
So
the
again,
idea.
So what happens is we are actually making the ingredients, right? So we don't have a say in who should make it or how should they market it or how should they position it. What we generally do is if somebody has already decided that they want to make plant-based solutions, we provide them with our ingredient and we provide them with the knowledge that how you can make it. Going for that kind of a, again, we are a startup, so we don't have those kind of huge resources to go and have a large mass campaign to start giving education to people or convince them to change their existing business model. So yeah, it doesn't seem to be something that we can focus on at this point of time, but thank you for your suggestion.
Thank you.
Nisip. Yeah, so I'll take one or two more questions. I think we have some more in the chat. Okay, so this question comes from Sanjeev. What are the scope for exporting to A and Z? If it is code for some country, I don't know. Do you have any collaboration with any players here? And do they welcome Indian crops in terms of quality and compliance?
Yeah, so Australia, New Zealand is, I think, what the person is
Okay.
referring to. And yeah, Australia, New Zealand is a good market. I We are not into export of crops, so I can't talk about that. But yeah, every country has their own regulations, and you can easily meet them. If you have correct quality parameters and correct quality procedures set in your process. I don't think so. That's a problem. If you're looking to export grains and things like that, sorry, I'm not the right person to answer that. If you're talking about looking at Australia, New Zealand as a market for plant-based food systems, they are a very attractive market. Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah, so we do have two more questions from the audience side, and if I'll bring Birth Venue team to the panel side so that they can ask question directly.
Sure.
You can you ask the question?
This side, Birth Venue. My question is that are you looking for in food tech? Are you looking for blockchain technology because that will help you to expand to global? As most of the country are not when it comes to food, they want to treat the transparency sector, and blockchain can do that for you. So are you looking for that technology in future?
You mean blockchain to ensure supply chain consistency?
Yeah, supply chain of food definitely.
Yeah. No, that's a very good idea. In fact, there are quite a few companies that are working on it, and yeah, I believe blockchain can be a good solution to control the whole supply chain and mark the authenticity of the ingredients that are coming to the world. Yeah, it's a good solution to look at, and we might in fact look at it as we are scaling.
Thank you. So do we have any more questions? Can you please share? Okay, this is the contact information. We'll be sharing it shortly. So
Sure.
other
What
than
I'll do
that,
is
I
I'll
think
just put a yeah. I'll
yeah.
Should I put
So
it out in the chat?
yeah, you can put on the chat as well as we'll be sharing it with all the participants. And I think we have posted this on the LinkedIn as well. Yes.
Yeah. So best is you can connect with me over LinkedIn. If not, you can write me a mail here.
So I will have one more question for you.
Sure.
And this is on the personal note and personal side from my side. Like, do you see that there is a future for the core R&D in engineering in the startup community?
Absolutely. See, startups are basically by nature, companies that are creating a radical solution to a problem that already exists, but with a point of view or with a innovation that current solutions are not able to bring. So, if it's in the field of software, you obviously will have to do research and develop the code and the software part of it. If you are working on a problem that has to be solved with engineering expertise, obviously you'll have to do the research and development in engineering. So it's like basically we are trying to solve a problem in food, so we are doing research in that. But if you select a problem that you want to solve in and commercialize something in engineering, obviously it makes sense to do the R&D in that, and there's no two ways about it. So that has been happening since the days of Edison, and it will continue to happen. So world cannot move ahead without innovation and R&D, be it any field.
True. So we have one more question from the Komal side. How would you compare pea protein versus mung bean? This is something from your core domain, I believe.
Yeah. So Komal, thank you for asking that question. Again, there has to be a lot of context to it. Because sorry, yeah. So there has to be a lot of context to it. What kind of application you are looking for? what is it that you are trying to make. In a lot of places, what we see is that mung bean protein or the other proteins that we have developed are superior in terms of nutritional profile, in terms of functionality profile, and in terms of sensory profile, that can be used for making things like, say, egg replacement. But again, as I said, there has to be a lot of context to questions like this. It depends on every application or every use case that you are looking at. So if you are looking for a specific solution, if you are trying to make a specific formulation, feel free to write to me on the email ID that I just shared, and we'll be happy to share more details.
Thank you, Kevin, for taking out your time. And though I started my session with saying that COVID and pandemic has been blessing in disguise for many of us by giving time frame where we can connect with people like you who are having huge expertise on it, and but though we had some technical difficulty when we started, but it was very lovely interaction with you, bringing research upfront from the startup to founders, and a journey from the employer to entrepreneurship. This is something which is very nice. India is already taking a leap step forward in R&D and R&I led startups. I think day before yesterday only we have got a news that we are now 46th in the Global Innovation Index, which is the rating which has been issued by WIPO, and we have seen a huge trajectory rise since 2015 when we were at 81 and now at 46. So 2021 was the era of SaaS, D2C, and hopefully next coming would be of the research-driven startup. Thank you once again for your time and for decoding investment for next generation food tech startup. Surely this interactive discussion would play a very important role for the next generation of the founders. Thank you
Sure.
once again. If you
It
would
was a
like
pleasure.
to
Thank you.
give, if you would like
Yeah.
to give any last conclusive remarks and advice to the founders who are into deep R&D kind of startups, we would like to know on that.
There is no specific advice that I can give to people who are in R&D based startups, but just be very focused on what is the problem you are trying to solve, and because everybody has very limited resources, especially in the early days. So rather than trying to solve 3-4 problems at a time, basically just find one problem that is core to what you are trying to achieve, and focus on all your energy, all your resources on it, and that will be great. Rather than focusing on solving 2-3 things. And once you make a great solution to it, then you have all the credibility to then expand, and people will help you with the resources. So yeah, but it was great talking to you, and thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you to all the people who has joined us today. This session is live on our Facebook as well, and post editing will be uploading this on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you, and thank you to the whole team. And I must say that Proeon is doing really wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. Have a good day. Bye
Have a
everyone.
good day. Bye.